Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I knew something was wrong the moment Olivia walked through the front door. She had been away for 4 days for her cousin's wedding in Charleston. I couldn't go because I had a major project at work that I couldn't leave. She dropped her suitcase beside the stairs and smiled. Hey, hey, I said. How was the wedding? Good. Beautiful, actually. She kissed my cheek, but it felt forced. I looked at her for a second. You okay? Just tired. She carried her suitcase upstairs. I didn't push it. 4 weeks later, Olivia came into my office while I was finishing some paperwork. We need to talk. I looked up. About what? She closed the door behind her. I'm pregnant. I stared at her. For a second, I thought I'd heard her wrong. You're what? Pregnant. I stood up slowly. How far? She hesitated. About 4 weeks. I did the math immediately. The wedding had been 4 days. She had returned 3 weeks earlier. I looked directly at her. Olivia. She lowered her eyes. The timing points to the wedding, doesn't it? She didn't answer. Look at me. She did. I slept with someone there, she said. The room went quiet. Who? His name is Julian. Someone from the wedding? She nodded. I walked around my desk and stopped a few feet from her. Did you know him before the wedding? No. Did you use protection? She looked away. Andrew. Answer me. No. I took a breath. So you're pregnant with another man's child? Yes. And you came home and waited 3 weeks before telling me. I needed time. For what? To figure out what I wanted. I almost laughed. You figured it out? I'm keeping the baby. I nodded once. That's your decision. Her expression changed. What does that mean? It means you can keep the baby. You're the mother. She folded her arms. You're my husband. I know. And I need you to understand that this doesn't have to destroy our marriage. I looked at her. Then tell me what you think happens next. She hesitated. Then she said something that made the whole situation much clearer. I think we should stay married and raise the baby together. I stared at her. And if I refuse? Her voice became quieter. Then we'll have to talk about divorce. I nodded. Fine. She looked surprised. Fine? Yes. I picked up my phone. Because now I want to know what else you've already planned. Olivia didn't answer my question. She stood across from my desk with her arms folded, watching me carefully. What exactly do you mean by planned? She asked. I mean, you didn't walk into my office 3 weeks after coming home without thinking about what you'd say. I've had time to think. Clearly. She took a breath. If we stay married, we can make this work. Make what work? Our family. I shook my head. Don't call it our family yet. You slept with another man and got pregnant. Her jaw tightened. You don't have to keep saying it. I'll stop when you stop pretending this happened to both of us. She looked away. Then she said, if you leave, we'll have to divide everything. There it was. I leaned back against my desk. What everything? The house, savings, investments, whatever the lawyers decide about your company. My company? You know what I mean. No, I want you to say it clearly. She hesitated. I've looked into what I'm entitled to. I stared at her. When? Recently. Before or after you slept with Julian? Her silence answered for her. I stepped away from the desk. You already talked to a lawyer. I wanted to know where I stood. You knew where you stood. You were married to me. That's not what I mean. I know exactly what you mean. She walked toward the door, then stopped. You think I'm trying to take everything from you. I think you came home pregnant by another man, and somehow your first concern became what happens to my house and my business. That's not fair. Neither was the wedding. She turned around. I didn't plan to fall for him. You said you didn't plan to sleep with him. She went silent. I continued. Now you're telling me you didn't plan to fall for him. Which is it? I don't know. Then figure it out without using me as the backup plan. Her face hardened. You don't understand how complicated this is. No, I understand it perfectly. She stared at me. What are you going to do? I haven't decided everything. She seemed relieved. Then I added, but I'm not raising Julian's child. Her relief disappeared. You'd really throw away our marriage? You threw it away at the wedding. She shook her head. I made one mistake. Maybe. I picked up my keys. But mistakes don't usually come with lawyers, financial plans, and 3 weeks of silence. She frowned. What are you implying? I'm not implying anything. I walked toward the door. I'm going to find out. She stepped in front of me. Andrew, don't make this worse. I looked her straight in the eyes. You should be worried about what I find, Olivia. Then I walked past her. I wasn't going to argue anymore. I was going to get answers. The next morning, I called David. He had known me for years and had been at the wedding for one night because he was helping the groom's family with the reception. We met at a coffee shop near his office. He looked at me carefully. Olivia told you? She told me she's pregnant. David went quiet. Is it yours? No. His expression changed. Then I need to tell you something. I leaned forward. Go ahead. David rubbed his jaw. I saw her with a man at the wedding. Julian? He nodded. How much did you see? Enough. Start from the beginning. David explained that Olivia had spent most of the reception away from the main group. Later that night, he saw her talking with Julian near the hotel bar. Did they leave together? Yes. When? After midnight. Did she come back? Not while I was there. I nodded. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't know what I was looking at. I thought maybe you knew. I didn't. David looked uncomfortable. There's more. I waited. The next morning, I saw them again. Together? Outside the hotel. That mattered. I asked David for the names of anyone who had been working at the hotel. He gave me the name of a manager he knew through the wedding. That afternoon, I contacted him. I explained that I was trying to establish the timeline of my wife's stay and asked what information he could legally provide. The hotel wouldn't give me everything without proper authorization, but I got enough information to confirm something important. Julian had booked a room on the same floor. His room was directly across from Olivia's. I drove home that evening. Olivia was sitting at the kitchen table. Where were you? Working. She looked at me. Why? Because I have a life outside this house. She sighed. Andrew, we need to talk about what happens next. We will. When? When I'm ready. She frowned. You can't keep avoiding this. I'm not avoiding anything. I put my phone on the table. I know you stayed on the same hotel floor as Julian. Her face changed. I saw it immediately. Who told you that? That's your question? She said nothing. I leaned closer. Here's mine. I paused. Why did Julian send you a message the morning after you came home? Her expression changed, just slightly. How do you know that? She asked. Because I saw it. Olivia stared at me for several seconds. Then she reached for her phone. Andrew, you're twisting this. Then explain it. She looked down at the table. Julian wanted to know how I was doing. After you slept with him? Yes? And you kept talking to him? I needed answers. About what? The pregnancy. I shook my head. You already knew you were pregnant. I needed to know what he wanted. And what did he want? She didn't answer. I stood up. That's what I thought. Andrew, wait. I stopped. He doesn't want anything serious, she said. I turned around. So you were planning something serious? No. Then why were you asking him what he wanted? She looked frustrated. I was confused. You're not confused about who the father is. She lowered her voice. I thought maybe he would help. Help with what? The baby. I stared at her. Meaning? Financially? Maybe. That answer told me more than she intended. I pulled out my phone and showed her another message. It was from Julian. He had written to Olivia 2 days after the wedding. He wanted to know whether she had told her husband and said he wasn't interested in becoming part of a marriage that already existed. Olivia's face went pale. Where did you get that? Doesn't matter. You went through my phone. I went through a phone that was sitting in our house after you started hiding things. She shook her head. You had no right. You lost the right to privacy when you started building a second life behind my back. Her eyes hardened. I wasn't building a second life. Then why did you ask Julian about my company? She froze. I had found that conversation too. She had told him what my company was worth and asked whether he thought I would fight over everything if we divorced. I looked at her. You were already discussing my finances with him. I was scared. No, you were preparing. She stood. This isn't fair. Fair ended at the wedding. I picked up my keys. I'm hiring a lawyer tomorrow. Her expression changed. You wouldn't do that. I already decided. Andrew, please. I walked toward the door. She followed me. You're going to destroy our family. I stopped without turning around. No, Olivia. I opened the door. You already did that. Then I left. That night, I moved my important documents and business records into a secure office. I separated my personal accounts and called a lawyer before going to bed. I wasn't going to wait for Olivia to make the next move. This time, I was making it first. The next morning, I met Martin Shaw at his office. He was in his early 50s, direct, and clearly not interested in hearing a dramatic version of my marriage. "Start with the facts," he said. So I did. The wedding, Olivia's affair, the pregnancy, the conversations with Julian, her questions about my finances. When I finished, I placed the documents on his desk. Martin read through them carefully. "This is useful," he said. "How useful?" "The affair itself is one thing. What matters more is what happened around it." He tapped the messages. "She's discussing your assets with the man who got her pregnant. That's a very different problem. Can she take half my business? That depends on the business, when it was acquired, how it's structured, and your state's laws. But we can protect what is legally yours." "Good." Martin looked at me. "One warning." "What?" "Don't confront Julian. Don't threaten Olivia. Don't do anything that can be used against you." "I won't." "And don't move money just to hide it." "I have nothing to hide." "Good. Then document everything." We filed for divorce that afternoon. Olivia was served the next morning. She called me 6 times. I didn't answer. Then she left a voicemail. "Andrew, you're taking this too far. Please call me." I deleted it. An hour later, Martin called. "Her lawyer contacted me." "What do they want?" "A settlement." "Already?" "They want you to keep the house and your business. Olivia would take a smaller portion of the remaining assets. In return, she wants confidentiality." I leaned back. "So she wants this buried." "That's how I read it." "What happens if I refuse?" "We prepare for court. Then prepare." Martin was silent for a moment. "You understand this could become expensive." "I do." That evening, Olivia showed up at my office. I met her in the lobby. "You filed without talking to me," she said. "You already made your decisions without talking to me." "I made a mistake." "You made several." Her eyes filled with anger. "You don't care about me anymore." "I care about the truth." She stepped closer. "You can still fix this." "No. You haven't even tried." "I tried the day I married you." She stared at me. Then she said quietly, "If you take this to court, everyone will know." I held her gaze. "That's your choice." She walked away. But before she reached the doors, her phone rang. She answered. I couldn't hear the other person. Then I watched her face change. She hung up and looked back at me. For the first time since this started, Olivia looked genuinely afraid. I knew someone had just told her something she didn't want me to hear. I didn't ask Olivia what the call was about. If she wanted to tell me, she would. Instead, I went upstairs and called Martin. "Find out who contacted her," I said. He paused. "Andrew, I can't investigate people illegally." "I'm not asking you to. I'm telling you something changed." "Then document it." The next morning, Martin called me. "You're going to want to hear this." I drove to his office. He had received an unexpected call from another lawyer representing Julian. "Julian wants to speak with you," Martin said. "Why?" "Because he says Olivia lied to him too." I sat down. "About what?" "About your marriage." An hour later, Julian arrived. I expected someone nervous. He wasn't. He looked uncomfortable, but he sat across from me and spoke directly. "Olivia told me you were already separated." "We weren't." "I know that now." "What else did she tell you?" Julian hesitated. "She said the marriage was basically over. She said you were controlling and that you were going to leave her anyway." I said nothing. He continued. "She told me she was going to have a different life after the wedding." "With you?" "That's what I thought." I leaned forward. "Did she talk about my money?" Julian looked down. "Yes?" "What did she say?" "She said you had a successful company and that you wouldn't let her leave without a fight." That confirmed what I had already suspected. Then Julian gave me something I didn't expect. He handed Martin a printed copy of an email Olivia had sent him before the wedding. I read it. She wasn't talking about love. She was talking about what she would need if the marriage ended. The email even mentioned the house. I looked at Julian. "Why are you giving me this?" "Because I don't want anything to do with her anymore." He stood. "I made a mistake, but I didn't know I was being used." After he left, Martin looked at me. "This changes the picture. It confirms it." "Yes, and it gives us evidence that she was thinking about leaving before the pregnancy." I nodded. "Then let's use it." That afternoon, Olivia's lawyer made another offer. This time, it was much better for me. They wanted a quick divorce, no public hearing, and a confidentiality agreement. I rejected it immediately. Martin looked at me. "You're sure?" "Completely." I picked up the email. She wanted this handled quietly because she thought I would be ashamed. I handed it back. "I'm not ashamed of what she did." I stood. "Let her explain it in court." The hearing took place 3 weeks later. Olivia arrived with her lawyer, looking calm again. I knew that look. She had used it at the restaurant, in my office, and every time she thought she could control the conversation. Martin leaned toward me. "Let me handle the arguments." "I will." The judge reviewed the basic details first. Then Martin presented the timeline. Olivia went to the wedding. She slept with Julian. She returned home. She became pregnant. Then, before telling me the truth, she started discussing divorce and my finances. The messages were submitted. So was the email Julian had provided. Olivia's lawyer objected. "The email doesn't establish what my client intended." Martin stood. "It establishes what she was discussing before the pregnancy was even known." The judge allowed it. Olivia kept her eyes on the table. Then her lawyer tried a different approach. "My client made a terrible mistake during a difficult period in the marriage. She returned home confused and afraid. She wanted to preserve her family." The judge looked at Olivia. "Did you tell Mr. Grant that you expected him to raise a child that was not his?" Olivia swallowed. "Yes." "And did you tell him that refusing could result in financial consequences?" Her lawyer stood. "Objection." The judge looked at the documents. "Overruled." Olivia looked at me. Then she answered. "I told him we would have to discuss the consequences of divorce." Martin placed another document on the table. The financial discussions began before she disclosed the pregnancy. The room went quiet. Olivia's lawyer turned toward her. She whispered something. Olivia shook her head. I could see the argument falling apart. Then Olivia looked directly at me. "Andrew, please." I didn't respond. The judge continued through the evidence. The final settlement protected my business and the assets that were legally mine. Olivia received what she was entitled to under the law, but she didn't get the leverage she had expected. When the hearing ended, she followed me outside. "You really did this." I turned. "You did this. I loved you. You loved the life I provided." Her face tightened. "That's not true." "Then why were you discussing my assets with Julian before you even told me you were pregnant?" She had no answer. I stepped toward my car. "Andrew?" I stopped. She asked quietly, "Do you hate me?" I looked at her. "No." She seemed surprised. "I just don't trust you anymore." Then I got into my car and drove away. 6 months after the divorce, I found myself back in Charleston. I had a business meeting there, only a few miles from the hotel where Olivia had stayed for the wedding. I hadn't planned to go anywhere near it, but after the meeting, I drove past the building anyway. I remembered the first night Olivia came home. She had stood in our doorway with that same calm expression and told me she was pregnant. At the time, she thought the wedding was where my life had gone wrong. She was right about one thing. That weekend changed everything, just not in the way she expected. Olivia eventually gave birth. I never met the child. I had made that decision before the divorce was even filed, and I never changed it. Julian disappeared from her life too. Whatever future she had imagined with him never happened. My business kept growing. The house became quiet, and slowly, my life stopped feeling like something I had to defend. One afternoon, almost a year after the divorce, Olivia called. I answered because I wanted to hear what she had left to say. "How are you?" she asked. "Fine." There was a long pause. "Do you ever think about us?" "Sometimes." "Do you regret divorcing me?" "No," she breathed out slowly. "I thought you'd come back." "I know." "Why didn't you?" I looked through the window of my office. "Because I didn't leave when you came home pregnant." She was silent. "You left the marriage when you decided another man's mistake was something I had to live with." I was scared. "I understand that." "Then why couldn't you forgive me?" "Because forgiveness doesn't mean staying." She didn't answer. I continued. "You came home from a wedding carrying another man's child and expected me to protect the life you had already chosen to betray." Her voice cracked slightly. "I wish I'd handled things differently." "So do I." "Would you ever talk to me again?" "I just did." She laughed quietly, but there was no happiness in it. Then we said goodbye. I ended the call and went back to work. For months, Olivia had believed she was giving me two choices: stay and accept her decisions, or leave and lose everything. She was wrong. I had a third choice. I could walk away with my dignity, protect what I built, and refuse to spend the rest of my life paying for someone else's betrayal. That was what I did. The wedding had given Olivia the beginning she wanted. For me, it gave me something better, a reason to finally choose my own life. Thank you for watching.